InsideFoos and Foosball Radio have combined to present the 100th episode of FoosTalk Live. It's FoosTalk Live.
You talking to me?
Compelling and lively banter.
Are you going to talk to us?
Talking foosball.
Foosball was how I measured my value as a man. You took that away.
Players and fans, promoters and pros. Unedited and raw.
Talk.
Living in the moment.
We have a lot of important things to talk about.
All while practicing social distancing.
Cool. We'll talk. No big whoop.
Let's get this thing started. FoosTalk Live. Coming to you live from the studios of InsideFoos, it's the 100th episode of FoosTalk Live. Brought to you in part by InsideFoos.com, offering monthly subscriptions with access to some of the most exciting matches ever recorded, plus live tournaments, pre- and post-show analysis, interviews, and original programming. Sign up now at InsideFoos.com. Also brought to you by ProtectoFlex, the world's premier foosball safety accessory. Go to protecto-flex.com. Brought to you by Rod Lock. Practice more, reach less. The best practice tool in foosball. Visit rod-lock.com. And brought to you by 518 Prints, one of the best printers of promotional items and foosball apparel. Visit 518prints.com today. Also brought to you by Foosballers, the movie. This Joe Hesslinger foosball documentary is now available as a worldwide download at foosballersthemovie.com. Also brought to you by the USTSO, helping to usher in a new era of competitive foosball. Become a member at usafoosball.com. And brought to you by Foosball Clubs USA, promoting foosball through school systems all over the United States. Visit foosballclubsusa.com and make a donation today. It is the 100th episode of FoosTalk Live. Hey there, I'm Tom Robinson. Thanks for joining us. We're looking forward to this very unusual time because, well, we're just pulling out all the stops this evening. In fact, we're going to begin with something unusual. I never really conceived of formally introducing my pod mates here. So here we go. First, let's introduce the team. Known the world over as the best foosball play-by-play announcer of all time. Here's Jim Stevens. Take it back,
Thank
Jim.
you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. That was amazing. That was awesome. You know, I do a lot of these intros at tournaments, and now I know what it's like to be on the other side of it. That was brilliant, and thank you. And it is a special, special night tonight, of course, our 100th show. And when we reflect back on it, which we're going to do quite a bit tonight, it's really been quite a ride, hasn't it? I think we've grown as a radio show, as a podcast, and I think as broadcasters, each and every one of us. And of course, the big thing is we have a lot of fun doing this. But tonight, you know, this show is usually about talking about what events are upcoming, talking about the sport, the history of the sport, everything else. Tonight, it's going to be a little bit more about us here at FoosTalk Live.
No doubt about it. And Jim, of course, because I'm changing my ways here and providing these special intros, I would be remiss if I didn't continue with these. But stand by for 1 second here while we... Next, sitting beside Jim Stevens for many years, the man known to many as the World Amateur Foosball Champion and Karaoke Master. Here's Mark Torres. There's your moment, Mark. Stand and take a bow.
That makes me want to tear up. Just the
If you were capable of that, yes.
Clarify, the 1990 amateur doubles world champion and a karaoke master. I've taken second place in 4 different competitions, and I was proud every time because there's nothing for that except for the pride in that. You get nothing. But yeah, it's been 100 episodes. I don't know how many I've been in, and I'll just say this before we get on to the next introduction. Hopefully, there's another one. I know it's good because I feel like I can't even believe 2 hours passes when we do it, and that's how you know. It's like, wow, 2 hours passed. Man, I wish we had more time. So that's my love for this podcast. Thank you.
Oh, it's it is pretty remarkable how quickly the time does fly. I mean, with 100 episodes, what was it? April 10th was the very first episode of FoosTalk Live. So here we are, almost 2 years later, and it just seems like 5, 6.
Yeah,
well,
crazy.
maybe 7. I don't know. But no, we have to continue with our intros. Without further ado, we are all so proud to welcome our official FoosTalk Live foodie and meat smoker genius. Here's Adam Gilson.
Meat smoker.
Love that. Meat smoker genius. Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Are we good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now, is it meat smoker or butt smoker? I mean, I just want to double check.
Either one ends up in a good place. So, yeah, I'm fine with either. Yeah.
In a good place.
Yeah. But no, I can't even believe that I've even been doing this for the last 10 years or 15 years or however long it's been.
Yeah.
It's been a wild ride. I'll tell you what. I know. And I'll tell you one thing. I'm excited for this. I'm excited for us to be talking about us.
Yeah,
we don't get to do that too often. So, yeah, count me in. I'm here.
We don't get to do it very often.
I do it every show.
He does it every show. You and I don't that often.
Oh, God, Jim.
Yeah.
Some of us are way ahead
number
of
one,
the
Jim.
crowd here. And I do want to take the time to recognize and, of course, welcome to the show who was with us on our very first episode, if you recall, Jim, Clay Tumey.
I don't, but you said that earlier, and it's like, I believe it, and it certainly makes it kind of special that he's here tonight, for sure.
And I have audio evidence to prove it tonight. But Clay Tumey, stand up and take a bow, sir. Please, yeah.
Where's my fancy intro at? This is bull crap, man.
I know.
You know that little kid who comes to like the Christmas, like the step cousin that nobody knew was coming to the Christmas party, and then everybody, grandma hands out presents to everybody, and then they realize that this little asshole that nobody knew was coming shows up, and they're like, go find one of your old toys and let this kid play with it so he doesn't feel left out. That's me.
Kind of like if I knew you were going to be here, I'd have baked you a cake.
Yeah, that sounded like a personal experience.
God.
Sorry, Clay.
And for the 100th episode, we're getting you some red hair dye.
Well, thank you.
Well, I do want to take the time out to thank you because, Clay, when it came to our technical issues, which we'll hear a little bit about soon, our first episode, when you came on board and started to kind of help us out, technically speaking, all of a sudden, I mean, things took off because we had much better audio suddenly. You're the one that turned us on to this thing called Discord, which we use now to communicate and broadcast with. And it has made such a huge difference in just the overall quality of things. So you are the hero, man. That's
Pleasure's all mine. I'm very critical of a lot of things, and sometimes it turns into something good. Yeah. And I usually don't complain too much about something unless I have an idea to make it better. So in this case, all jokes aside, I think that the way that you guys are doing this, hopefully it's easier. I can say as a listener of the show, because I'm not always here, but I do always listen.
Right.
It sounds really good. I like it.
Yeah, much better than
I agree.
This way the first time we ventured into it. But yeah, so Clay, could you tell us the story real quick about how Jim came to possess this very high-end microphone he's now using on the air? Can you tell us that story?
Oh yeah. So for those who don't know, Jim has a mic that is equivalent of like a Ferrari in the mic world. He uses the Shure SM7B, which if you ever watch streamers, it's the one that they all have, and none of them know how to use it because they're all stupid. They just want to look cool. And it is a cool looking mic, by the way. But the mic itself is incredible. The SM7B, or the 7B as we nerds call it, is an outstanding mic. One night after the show, Tom and I were talking, and we were, Jim was using an old 58 at that point, which was, or a Beta 58 rather, which was a good mic. It's not a bad mic.
Back in 1958, yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. So the Shure, it's the SM58. Everybody knows what that mic is if you've ever been to a concert or seen a performance. It's what everybody sings in. Like the lead singer of the band, that's what they hold. But it's not. It's not good enough for somebody of Jim's caliber. And so we just kind of got to chatting. I'm an audiophile nerd, whatever, and so is Tom. And we're like, why does Jim not have a mic that suits who he is? And so that led to a conversation about if people knew, like the people in our circle, if they knew what we could do and how it could be better, and I guarantee you we could get, because the mic itself is like $400. The interface to go with it is another $100. It's not cheap, and I guarantee you, this was the conversation in the moment, I guarantee you we can raise that money. I could call 6 people, they'd all give $100 each, and bam, it'd be done. So that's what I did. I didn't ask for a dollar amount. I just sent out messages via text message, via Facebook Messenger, whatever. And I said, hey, we're going to do this thing for Jim. Do you want to contribute? And maybe 36 hours later, it was completely funded. Amazing. And we organized to have a secret, shipping, and it went to the missus, and she helped coordinate so that it would actually be a surprise. And then we all got on a Zoom call one day and gave Jim the microphone.
My wife and kids were in on it as well, and it was a tremendous surprise. Very touched by everybody. And it really is nice to work with quality equipment and quality people. So thank you,
Jim. You meet the standard.
I was one of the first calls, messages in there, and I said, "All right, let's do this. See how many people you can get, and if you don't get enough, I'll cover the difference." And it didn't take long at all. You got everyone to have a equivalent.
Yeah,
it was just no time.
Yeah, Mark totally said that. He said, "Hey, whatever it is, if there's not enough," actually what he said was, "Let me know last. Whatever's left over, I'll pay for that."
No, thank you, Mark.
I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds.
There was $3 left.
It's $3.42 to be exact.
Thanks,
but he gets credit. No, he did though. He said that. So it was a done deal. It was just a matter of who gave what, and there was a handful of people. Honestly, it was probably could have. Yeah. So we'll just leave it at that. It was very quickly.
If you were still a thief, you could have embezzled probably $900, but you didn't do it. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, that's
you sure?
Not the best time for a joke like that, but I respect who you are, and that's what you do.
Got to read the room, Mark.
And that's what you did. Yeah. We're not. It's not about me. This is about Jim. So if you want to take time out of Jim's time,
appreciate it. And that is certainly one of the memories. Looking back 100 shows, and of course, Tom and I had a conversation back in March of 2020. Right. Maybe we chatted a little bit before COVID kind of hit, and then certainly afterwards, and we kind of collaborated on getting this thing going. It was a little rough in the beginning, but here we are 100 shows later, and I think we can all be pretty proud of the work that we have put into this and the results of that work as well.
Oh, no doubt. Well, since we are on the topic of what it was like in that very first episode, I thought perhaps maybe we could reminisce a bit. I've removed some sound from that very moment when we first logged on, and we used Podbean, by the way, and only Podbean back in those days. So you'll notice when things were working through Podbean, it was a little different. But here's an example of what happened in that very first. In fact, these are the first words ever spoken on FoosTalk Live. Right about now, you'd probably be getting ready to grab your wraps and head out to play some foosball. Maybe at your local DYP or your best buddy's basement for some foosball trash-talking pickup games. Well, since that's not really something we can do, let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about foosball. It's called FoosTalk Live. I'm Tom Robinson of Foosball Radio, and we have teamed up with InsideFoos to go live to chat about our favorite sport, foosball. And first, allow me to introduce my co-host, a man who really needs no introduction. I'd like to welcome to the show one of the world's greatest play-by-play foosball commentators. Please welcome Jim Stevens. Hello, Jim.
Oh, thank you, Tom. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. So here it is, the first episode of FoosTalk Live, and we're essentially flying by the seat of our pants. How this thing works, right?
We really are. And, of course, oftentimes with these sort of things, it's a trial and error thing. We've done as much preparation as we possibly could, but there's always something, isn't there, that we need to address and
it's
fix.
There's always that, right? We have to figure out where the buttons go and how they work and all that kind of thing. So,
but I'm really excited about this and about the potential for this, about interacting with foosball players around the world and kind of finding out where they're at during these difficult times. And of course, we're going to talk lots of positive stuff as well.
Right, exactly. Well, the other thing that I do want to make mention of, and I think we can hear a little bit of practice going on in the background, I do want to welcome along two other very familiar voices for Foosball Radio fans. First of all, I want to welcome Nino Dijon. Nino, are you with us?
What's up, guys?
Hey,
how are you, man?
I wondered who was practicing there in the background.
That's Junior here, practicing away.
And happy birthday, Sam.
Thank you.
Sam's got a 12th birthday going. So what was on the cake for the birthday today, Sam?
No cake yet. No cake yet.
No cake?
He's got to earn his cake. He's got to do 100 snake shots to each corner.
He's got to put in his hours first.
Understood. Well, the 12th birthday only happens once. I hope he enjoys it. So, now the other person that we want to welcome to the show, of course, is someone that everybody's very familiar with when it comes to Foosball Radio. It's Chuck Dooley.
Hey, Tom, how you
Chuck,
doing?
You with it?
I am here.
Excellent. And just to let everybody know that you can also refer to Chuck as Super Chuck. That's something we like to refer to Chuck, especially around the foosball table.
Super Chuck. Happy Chuck. There you go. Nice to hear your voice, Chuck.
I got a lot of nicknames, I think. Some of them are good, some are bad.
Yeah, well, there you have it. That was the very first episode, the first
quality radio, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, we had to start someplace, right? And Nino DeJean, of course, Chuck Dooley, great friends, great players, and they were terrific with Foosball Radio. And then, of course, jumping into this experiment as well with us, and after 100 episodes, I guess it worked, generally speaking.
Yeah, I think for the most part, and that was a bit of a rocky start. And 100 shows later, it's still pretty rocky around here. But maybe, and again, we're going to reflect on that tonight. We have our top 5 takeaways from 100 FoosTalk live shows, and there's so many directions that can go tonight. And I'm really looking forward to what the rest of you all have to talk about that. But one other thing, though, Tom, I'm getting thirsty.
You are. Well, by the way, I'm going to have to ask you for your help on this, and hopefully someone in the crowd here can speak French. But anyway, yes, it's about that time.
What Jim and I like to do right about this time is to reveal our favorite IPA.
So, Jim, for the 100th, what are you drinking?
Well, I've had my first IPA ever. It had to be at least 20 years ago. I had a fake ID. And but the very first one I ever had was out of the Stone Brewery in North San Diego County. And that's, sort of ground zero for IPAs, for American IPAs, North San Diego County. They make a really nice hazy these days. It's the Stone IPA hazy.
Love the can.
It's kind of, the cans are a big deal these days. But, I really, as far as go-tos these days, it's hazies. And Stone's makes a good one. And I am ready for a sip. Here's to you.
Let's do it. In a
Hearty,
nice
delicious.
Is that a plastic cup?
Yeah.
It's a plastic cup. How dare you? I thought it was.
Let me write that down.
Frosted metal mug or something, but no, it's plastic. Oh well.
Well, it could be anything in there, right? It could be water, it could be juice. As I drink during the show, I didn't want it to be, too obvious.
All right.
Now, what are you drinking, Tom?
Adam, what retail are you drinking?
Oh, well, as you know, I was going to go and try all the different IPAs around at the local breweries, but I decided I don't want disappointment on this, our 100th episode. So I went to the Wheelhouse. I went to the Wheelhouse back, and it was right here in my living room, right there, that Jim Stevens and I drank one of these together, a Disco Wolf.
Ooh, Disco. Oh, I like the.
These are just, I've already said it. This is probably the third time I've had it on the show, but it's money. It is.
Yeah.
Delicious, refreshing. It's got this unctuous mouthfeel.
Like
that. If you knew me, you'd know that my dimples are showing when I drink it. It's just a delicious Disco Wolf, Fremont Brewery. Check it out.
Love it. Fantastic.
Good stuff. Adam made us a great meal that night, and we had some great as well.
Oh,
that was a lot of fun.
Looking forward to that hospitality when I finally get out to California.
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I have to say, just a quick backstory. I go to the old Saratoga Mercantile on Route 29 in Schuylerville, New York. And the proprietor there is wonderful. He is really into IPAs, very unusual IPAs. And the last time I went to get a supply, I think I bought like 4 cans. He came out of the back and said, "Hey, listen, I know what you're doing with your podcast and stuff, and I appreciate you mentioning us. I just wanted to give you a can of my special stash, my private stuff." So I said, okay, and he handed me this can. I don't know if you can see it here, but I'm holding up the can. It's actually in French. And so my pronunciation on this is going to be horrible. Du ciel. Morlite. I think that's Morlite. I've forgotten how you say that. But anyway, it is part of the private stash. Yeah, right? So according to what I'm reading here, it says established in Quebec, Canada. This particular IPA strives to brew exceptional beer. Oh, it's the name of the brewery, by the way. They strive to brew exceptional beer without compromise in order to create unique and hearty tasting experience. So I guess Morlite is the name of the brew. So this is the private stash. Oh yeah. Mighty nice. Okay. I feel honored and flattered to be able to drink a little of the private stash here.
Yeah, and Tom, I continue to get cards and letters, the occasional email, and even a Facebook message.
Lying! Stop
they're
lying!
Talking about how
Stop
much they
lying!
enjoy this segment.
Stop
and
lying!
How it is such an important part
Tired of the
FoosTalk
father
Live
of
for now
lies.
100 episodes.
Jim, you have ice in your veins, Jim. That was great.
He's been dealing with it for. He's been dealing with it
kept going.
15 years.
So, Mark, Clay.
Hey, let me talk about me. Let me make this show about me.
Yes.
I have a very public bet going on with Billy Pappas. It's a $1,000 bet, and he bet me that I couldn't lose. So I started on February 8th. He bet me I couldn't lose 30 pounds in 60 days.
Whew.
What a blunder! I've lost 22 pounds in about 26 days, and I'm gonna lose 30 pounds in less than 40 days. And then I'm going to post it. So there's no beer for me. Not there would be beer anyway. I'm drinking water. I've had, by the way, since February 8th, I've had 5 meals. Total.
So
how many is Billy? Billy's had that many today.
Billy's eating tacos and drinking margaritas at Costa Rica. He's dead in the water.
I love you.
Dude's going to owe me $1,000.
Yeah. Let's hope he wins open singles this weekend until he can pay you.
Yeah. So, Mark, 22 pounds. Which arm did you cut off, or was it one of your legs?
I've had 5 meals. I lose about between a half pound and a pound and a half every day. I burn 3,000 calories. I take in 0.
You don't get hangry?
Not anymore. Just.
That's just his normal disposition.
Yeah.
That's just him.
Yes.
So Clay, pray tell, what are you consuming?
First of all, I don't appreciate the subtle disrespect of the music going away when you ask us what we're drinking. So just going to call that out for what it is.
Continues, Clay. One thing after another.
We're going to beat you up, young man.
By the way, Clay, Festivus takes place in December. Airing of grievances, this kind of thing.
24/7, 365 days a year, 366 on a leap year. I don't care. I've learned to just not let it build up, to just say it as it comes about. And so there you go. I blessed you with a little bit of anger.
Love it.
I'm drinking. I'm reading the ingredients here. It has sodium bicarbonate, calcium chloride, and purified water with flavor enhancing minerals. It is 0 alcohol by volume, 0% alcohol by volume. This is great value brand purified drinking water.
Truly amazing.
There you go.
Wow.
Love it.
Sell it, baby.
Very
Sell
nice.
it.
There's a soundbite.
Oh my goodness.
Well done.
In honor of that, I thought perhaps we could reminisce with Clay. Clay, like I say, you have rescued us technically, and so many other ways too. So yes, I wanted to reminisce about the first time you heard your voice on this podcast on FoosTalk Live.
Jim, your friend Clay Tumey is on. Now, Clay, would you like to join us?
Come on, Clay, jump on.
There he is. All right, Clay, welcome to FoosTalk Live. I know you're there.
Technical difficulties here, Tom.
I am here. I said so many good words that nobody heard because my mic wasn't turned on yet. So.
There you go.
He has all the best words
mic,
too.
by the way.
We're just working this thing out, man. We're trying to find out which buttons to push when. So it's good. You're along with the rest of us here. We're just flying by the seat of our pants. So
Cool. Been there. Love it.
So welcome, Clay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I understand that you're a statistician or statistician.
Yeah, I punch in numbers on a spreadsheet and then it makes me look smart. Smarter than I am. Yeah.
Clay is amazing. There's something like 114 114 different stats that he can keep. He is the fastest typist I've ever seen. Something what you do, 140 words a minute, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it depends on the words.
So depends on the words, right? But he has brought so much to the InsideFoos product over the last few years that people love it. I love it. It gives me more to work with, and it really breaks the game down. I mean, are the stats 100% correct? No, but it's still interesting to look at them.
Whoa. Of course they are. What do you mean?
They tell the story.
Is it accurate?
Hey, Jim, I'm sorry to report you were 0 for 1 so far.
Oh, wow.
Man, well done, sir. Well done.
I love that.
That's early days. My goodness.
And I need to come from the back of the cave if I'm going to continue on the show here. And for a minute there, I thought I had the microphone that I had then was making it sound like I had a New York accent, but then I realized that was Chuck. But I thought it was me.
Yeah, that was Chuck. Yeah, I was going to say. And what's wrong with the New York accent, by the way?
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. All right.
Oh, forget about it.
Forget about it.
Hey. So
are the stats accurate? No. But are they precise? Also no. Thank you.
Are they accurate? No. But are they quick? Yes. And that's really all that matters.
They are quick.
I challenge anyone to sit there and watch a foosball match and keep track of all the stats. And if there's a better way to do it, I am all about it.
No one's even close, buddy. No one's even close to what you do. And it's always a pleasure to have you there. And I'm always to buy the way you do it and did it. And it added so much, as I said in that little soundbite.
And it's super easy. And it is not proprietary information that I am keeping close to my vest. I'm more than happy to show literally anyone how to do that. And I even have special spreadsheets that are like the light version, for lack of a better phrase, so that people who can just want to get familiar with like the basics of it, they can do that. Yeah.
So if a guy made like 2 shots in 4 attempts, you'd be able to tell us what that percentage is.
Yeah, it's more than 0, less than 100.
Love it.
Yeah, 2 out of 4 is something like 50.
Yeah. Is this what the show tonight's going to be about? It's just going to be us just kind of talking and chatting.
Get your spreadsheet out.
This is more interesting than anything that anybody else is doing
to the
right
FoosTalk
now.
Live 100th anniversary show.
It is 100 episodes, and we're really looking forward to our top 5 this evening, because we're going to be talking about the top 5 takeaways from the first 100 episodes of FoosTalk Live. And maybe you, as a listener, have some opinions on that. I know at least one that's going to be making my list. Anyway, we're still trying to maintain our normal routine here when it comes to our features. So we thought it would be fun to go back to the very first time we actually aired an episode with the feature called FoosTalk Live Flashback. And so let's see what that one was way back when. I think it was maybe episode 20 or something like that.
With great moments in foosball history, this is a FoosTalk Live Flashback.
Tony, hard along that outside wall. Here it is. Another chance to win the World Championship for 18-year-old Tony Sprademan. Moving the ball around.
Tony Sprademan has won the 2003 World Open Singles Championship. What a performance all weekend long for Tony. It couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Hugging his great friend Emilio Gilmore, grew up playing together. Tony's been working so hard to get back to this point, so emotional right now. What a great moment it is for Tony Sprademan.
He's been playing the best foosball of anybody all weekend long. He plays the best foosball of anybody here in the Open Singles Final. That is one excited young man. He is the 2003 World Singles Champion.
Legend in the making.
You can't drink this, but you can wear it.
Steve Murray.
Listen in next time for another great moment in foosball history. It's FoosTalk Live.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the celebration at the end there.
A legend in the making, Mark.
I gotta say something. I gotta say something about that. I gotta say something about that. Was 19 years. So this is hilarious because it was 93. Steve Murray opens a bottle of champagne for Tommy.
Right.
No, 93.
93.
Hold on. 93. Murray opens a bottle of champagne and was it Link? I got to be careful. It was one of them gives Tommy a bottle of champagne. He's 17 or 18. He just starts guzzling champagne. Steve Murray's not that stupid. He's not going to get sued. That whole thing was liability. You can't drink this, but you could wear it. Here, 18-year-old. Here's some alcohol.
Awesome.
That's totally
love it.
A flashback of a flashback. I love that, Tom.
Right.
And it remains an incredible memory and the beginning of something. And Mark said it at the end there, the birth of a legend. And certainly that has been the case. I mean, he ended up number 3 on our all-time list of greatest players ever. And there's an argument to be made. He would be number 2. But that was the beginning. That was it. And we all kind of knew, right? Something special was happening. He was 18 years old, and you could hear from the crowd as well just how popular a guy Tony was when he first came out on tour.
That was a very large crowd, by the way, because they cheered for quite some time, and they were really rooting for him. Really great sound. Love that.
You know, I didn't know something special was happening, to be honest, because Fred had beat him the year before, and I thought this is a catalyst moment. If he loses this, I'm worried he'll be a perpetual loser. I was worried about it at that moment. Like if he loses this, it'll be two seconds in two in a row. Because I'm kind of cynical that way, and I just, oh my God, if he loses this one, it's going to be tough for him. But he probably would have been a great champion, and he would have anyway. But that's the way my brain works. And when he beat Fred, I knew. It's like he beat Fred. He came back and he beat Fred the second time around, and that's when I knew this guy's going to be something amazing.
And that was the first of what is now 8 Tornado World Championships for Tony. The most of any American player ever in singles, and he's certainly proven himself, in my opinion, to be maybe the greatest singles player of all time. Certainly Fred right there with him, but a top 2 all-time singles player in the history of the sport, anywhere, any place, anytime.
And at Thunderdome recently, he was on mic for a good portion of the time and did an awesome job.
He's great at that, isn't he? He's really good.
He actually loves it. He loves it.
Yeah. I mean, he's a natural. He's just he's himself and tells you how it is. He shares with you his incredible knowledge of the game for sure.
Yeah. Only he looks at it through a lens that no one else does, and it really and he translates it and communicates it so well, and it makes it really interesting for the listener and the viewer for sure.
Yep. Well, I have to reminisce with you a bit here, Jim, because when we go back now in time to our original episodes of FoosTalk Live, especially that first year, I mean, there's a lot of changes that took place on the show, but one of the most significant moments that I recall is the first time we heard the voice of Mark Torres.
Hey, man, this is Jim. I got a question for you. Would you agree that Mark Torres is the best color commentator of all time?
Hold on. It sounds like we have a special guest piping in here.
Yeah, we have somebody to ask you a question here already. Somebody jumped in, and it's Jim.
Would you agree that it's that Mark's the best? And another question: did you ever want to lean over and kiss him the way I did sometimes?
That's typical Mark, of course. That was Ezekiel.
I was waiting to hear what my answer was, although I know what it is.
What was your answer, Jim?
I'm pretty sure I said something like, yeah, he's the best ever and the worst, depending on when you get him.
For sure.
God. Oh,
that was back when you called in on Podbean. So you called in the call-in button.
Yeah.
And
on our landlines, in our rotary phones. Yeah.
Right. And a tin can with a shoestring.
Yeah. That was good.
Adam, what did you think about that? Oh,
well,
Adam stepped away for a minute. Yeah.
Taking a break. Clay, what do you think?
Let's do this top 5. We got any other cool features before that?
Well, I thought maybe we could remember the first time we heard Adam's voice.
Oh,
yeah, let's do it. There he is.
Yeah, let's see what happened when Adam first appeared.
The club, well, it was the Tischfußballbund of Österreich.
There you go.
Which is the Austrian federation affiliated with the ITSF, who did such a great job. And actually, the name of the club, who also co-promoted this, were the Eagles Graz, out of the city of Graz in Austria.
Graz.
Spelled I-G-E-L-S. That's apparently how you spell eagle in German.
Okay.
But they were also the co-promoters of this.
And that clip got cut off there for some reason. Hold on, I'll have to search for the rest of that clip.
I might have heard Adam's voice there briefly.
Yeah, no, Adam was he was on that show, so my bad. But we'll get that back in just a few moments. In the meantime, though, let's talk about the top 5. Let's talk about what we're doing this evening, guys, because this is.
I don't get my thing. That's it. I'm screwed. Is this Clay? Is this what it's like to be you, Clay?
You're getting warmer. You're getting warmer. This is perfect. Awesome.
Good. I don't even have my own intro yet. I never did.
You know what?
Anyway, sorry.
We hear
Don't
your
let me
voice
interrupt
now.
your show.
So let's talk top 5, guys. Top 5 takeaways from the first 100 episodes of FoosTalk Live.
Yeah, based on how we've gone so far, it may be just 100. That might be it. We might stop after 100.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
No, it's. I think we may as well just dive into this.
Time once again for the FoosTalk Live Top 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number.
Adam, you may take the point here. Let's have you lead this off.
Let me look at my list that I just wrote down about a week ago, because I always like to prep for this. Let's see. Number 5 is a gimme, I'm going to say. And we're still seeing it play out in real time since last year. But FoosTalk Live has been a part of it. Has been the technological shift and change in the last couple of years from how social media works. And we're seeing that with Podbean, of course, with Discord, as we're seeing it now. And everything else under the sun. I have in my boxes in my room, Foos News and all these other things that you were maybe happy to get every month or two or every 3 months back in the 70s and the 80s. And that was how information about foosball was proliferated. Oh, and posters on your wall, right? And the fact that we now have this that we're doing every week, and showing people and people getting to hear other people that play foosball across the country is phenomenal. So one of my big takeaways from FoosTalk Live is the technological advancements, what it's showing and how we're actually utilizing it to make foosball, amazing.
Oh, yeah. Love that. Mark?
Yeah. So I just want to first say that the Inside Foos Top 5, my top 5 is sponsored by Trophy Smack, Foos Gadgets, Foos Fit, Valley Dynamo, Rod Dash Lock, Portland Moneyball, Tulsa Two Gun Promotions, TSK Promotions, IFP Promotions, Bardo Celebration, Florida State RK Foosball, Tampa Foosball, and Texas State Championships. Just so you know, that's who I live and breathe for this week. Anyway,
Is it my turn now?
5 is, here's my number 5. And I went with the first 5 things that came to my head. And number 5 thing is that this is fun. One of my takeaways from this is it's fun. It's fun, right? Or I'm like a very simple primate. I'm averse to doing things that I don't like. I seek pleasure and I'm hedonistic, and I wouldn't do it if it wasn't fun. And this is fun. It's fun because I keep coming back to it. It's fun because there's new things we create, new ideas and new engagements and communication, and I lose track of time. And there's often when we're spending 30 to 40 minutes before and 30 to 40 minutes after, and we still are soaking it up. So I don't know if our customers think it's fun.
Oh.
I think it's fun. That's all that matters. And I think our customers do think it's fun, but hey, it's fun.
I think that works. Yeah.
Yeah, my number 5 is kind of a combination of the two, I suppose. Obviously, without the technological advancements that we've had over the last 10 years, but certainly the last 2 years with COVID and everything really pushing evolution in this area forward, it's allowed us to hang out on a Sunday night now. I look at it differently. It's not like I'm going to go hang out on video with some of my best friends and talk about foosball and have a great time. Now it's just, this is how it's done, right? So we get to hang out on a Sunday night, and tonight it's cool that we have all 5 of us. And again, all 5 of us coming from 5 disparate parts of the country. Tom in New York, and Adam out in California, and Mark in Chicago, and Clay down in Texas. But it's really hanging out with you guys, and that's my number 5, and how much I enjoy that as well. Mark said it. We need to do things we enjoy. It's important to feel it, and for me, I suppose it's a great creative outlet as well. And being creatively, expressive is fun. It really is, and doing it with you guys, all of whom I like, most of you at least. And it's just really cool to hang out with my buddies on a Sunday night. We all look forward to it, having a couple of IPAs, spending some time talking foosball, going in directions that we can't plan for, and oftentimes in really interesting directions. For me, number 5, it's the thing that has made such a great impression on me, and that's how much I enjoy this as well, Mark, and Adam and Tom and Clay, and how much I enjoy hanging out with you guys and talking foosball. That's my number 5 as well.
Love it, Jim. And Clay?
Oh, where to start? I one thing I've learned since, and I'm not like super regular. Sometimes I get the itch and I'm here for several weeks in a row, and then I remember that I like to run from commitment, and so I don't come for a few weeks in a row. But when I'm here and I talk and I share opinions, it's people will give feedback, and they will write, they will message, they'll send me messages on Facebook, and I gotta say, there is no chance I'll ever read any of it. I genuinely don't care. My number 5 is, no matter how smart your opinion is, there's some top player from the 80s who disagrees. And so that is my top 5, number 5.
Love it. Yeah. Well, I will give you my take on this top 5, which I don't often do because I don't have the encyclopedic brain you cats have. So when it comes to my top 5 takeaways for the first 100 episodes is, well, over 150 IPAs shared on the air right here. 150.
Yeah.
The math. And it's between the two of us, Jim, and now Adam. Yeah, 150 different.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, cheers.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I'll get more cards and letters supporting that as well. No doubt about it.
Still
Mark
0 for me.
Mark is just out SOL on that one. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, I'm hurting on the inside. I'm hurting on that.
All right, let's continue.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 4.
Adam, you're back.
I'm back. Wow, you guys must have done yours really quick. Anyways, so number 4. 2 words, 4 syllables. Been a pleasure. I don't even know how to. There's no preamble. There's nothing. Tom Robinson. My takeaway has been Tom Robinson. Like, you, dude, you are freaking amazing. We are because you exist. And I don't even understand, like, the level of professionalism, the level of production you put into this. The fact that I've never gotten my own intro and Clay never will has all combined to move all of us in ways that we can't even explain. But no, you bring, and we all, I mean, I think most people that listen know your chops and your background and everything like that. But my goodness, it is just so, I don't know. 2 words, 4 syllables, Tom Robinson. My number 4 takeaway.
Wow. What do I say to that? But thank you.
Everyone keeps counting whether it's in their head or with their fingers.
I don't trust Adam's math. I just don't.
Mark.
I'll say this, just a quick word on Tom. He is really professional and really becoming of the stature of this position. But I tell the worst, horrendous jokes in the pre-show, and Tom laughs at everyone. So I will just tell you that of the nasty things I say, Tom jumps out in open space and laughs his ass off. So there. Yeah. How's it going, Tom? My number 4, what is my number 4? Let me briefly look. Oh, yeah, here's my number 4. There's a need for this. After 100 episodes,
right.
I got people reaching out to me, Wisconsin Foosball, Costa Rica, they're all reach out. Say, hey, can we get on your show? Can you promote our show? So there's a need, and a need, maybe there's a strong word. There's an interest in it for sure.
Right.
But in terms of marketing and reaching out to a demographic that maybe social media doesn't necessarily reach, or text messaging or word of mouth doesn't reach, the show absolutely connects in a marketing and a visibility perspective that the foosball community could use and leverage and wants to use. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I think we've arrived here. It took time to get here, and now we have that scope. I mean, we have listeners and all over the world. I think it's pretty cool, right? So anyway, that's my number 4.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to that point, Mark, when we first came on in 2018 with Foosball Radio, there really, for all intents and purposes, really were no other podcasts about foosball. Except for maybe one.
And since then, we have become the number 1 foosball podcast in the.
Yeah.
Tom Robinson, I'll say briefly, early on, I identified what a professional you are, and certainly we're at that point. And if we were going to do something like this, we needed someone like you. And you're probably the only guy in the entire world of foosball that could pull this off and make the rest of us look good with what you do behind the scenes and, of course, what you do on the air as well. So thank you. And Tom, a 100th show would not. We couldn't have a 100 show without recognizing that. And so thank you. And again, in my number 4, again, it's been the response to the show. Now, I was talking with the Hall of Famer who will be inducted in Las Vegas next month, Christina Fuchs, and she says she listens every week. I can't wait, she says, I can't wait to listen to you guys. Every week she listens to us live, and I know a lot of people don't listen live, but they certainly download after the fact. Reese Roberts over in Great Britain, who is such a fan of the show. And we were down in Florida a couple of weeks ago for the Thunderdome event, and I feel like half the players there, 2/3 of the players there came up and said how much they enjoy what we're doing here. So I think, yes, there was a vacuum. It's needed, as Mark says. There's a place for this, a strong place for this, and I think based on the responses, which is my number 4, that I have gotten personally from so many people around the world, and especially here in this country, in the United States, I think it's become an important part of the foosball fabric here and internationally as well. So I know a lot of that, again, going back to you, Tom. So thank you. But my number 4, it's the response to the show that kind of keeps us going a little bit.
Jim, I totally agree with you there. It's the weirdest thing when I went to Tornado Championships in Kentucky this last year. In the middle of a match, another player who I'd never met before stopped me after I'd taken a timeout. And I was about to call the play. I was calling back in. I looked at him. I said, "You ready?" He looks at me. He goes, "You're the guy, aren't you?" I went, excuse me. And he stopped the whole match. He goes, "I got to tell you, man, I love your show." Oh, okay, cool. But it turns out I think he was from it might have been from the Lexington area. But regardless, I'm thinking, how is that even possible? But there you have it.
How is it even? What are you saying? Lexington doesn't have electricity or indoor plumbing?
No. That's not what I mean.
Hey, don't be talking crap about Lexington, Tom. You're taking us the wrong direction,
man. I love it.
Listen, if Clay can go off on,
I'm changing my list.
You know where? No, it just kind of took me by surprise, and I just didn't expect that, and especially playing someone at a match. So for sure. But I mean, I can't tell you how flattered I am to hear that kind of thing, and it's.
Let's not forget about Clay here. What's your number 4, Clay?
I gotta agree with Tom.
I was waiting for them to give. I was waiting for them to ignore you, Clay. But go ahead.
No, I made sure he didn't.
No, I was just going to continue with what Tom was saying, that the social awareness for people from Lexington is awful. And
it's his number 4.
It's not my number 4. I just wanted to add to that. It's second only to people from Oklahoma. My number 4 is
Dadomont.
So, like, all jokes aside, I think there are no jokes aside. This is all truth. No, I'm kidding. I love how this is like a place. It's a safe place to just be like silly. Like, this is one of the reasons I started playing foosball is because I had a job where I was working 100+ hours a week. I was getting out of debt. I was doing a lot of stuff, and I started playing foosball just so I could socialize with humans because I worked with monkeys, and I realized that like these bar atmospheres were fun. You could cut up, you could say things that are dumb without worrying about offending people, and I need that because I have a lot of things that I think are funny and very few places to share those thoughts. And most of the things that I think are funny are not okay, like in the regular world, but in foosball, they're okay. You can take that for what it's worth. I mean it as a compliment, and it's a safe place. And even here, where there's a lot of prim and proper, there's also a lot of down and dirty. And I like that it fits here. It's comfortable. It's nice. So that's my number 4.
Yeah, excellent.
And good one.
Working with monkeys is dangerous.
Yeah, thank you for saving the rainforests. And thank you.
Yeah, no, I work with idiots in the oil fields is what I meant. This bunch of gorillas.
Okay,
yeah.
Now we get it.
Yeah, like they're knuckle dragging cavemen, basically. So my point is I want to upset as many people as I possibly can, and I'm glad that this is a safe place for me to do that.
Welcome to it. Okay, there we go.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 3.
So
that would be Adam. You're on.
This is when I knew that FoosTalk Live was where I needed to be, and it was I don't remember the episode, but I just remember we were talking to Blake Robertson, and we found out that Blake Robertson folds his laundry. He folds his laundry himself. He's a human. And in my head, I was like, I know it's a silly thing, But my goodness, FoosTalk Live is letting all these people that maybe some of us, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but you let mythologize these people, these foosball titans, and then you realize, they're just humans. And they've got mismatched socks, and they don't know exactly where to get their detergent from, and they don't understand how come all of their stuff keeps fading. Because they're still humans like 99% of the time, but we see them in these tiny little windows at these tournaments, right? But then FoosTalk Live looks through past that window into their living room as they're folding their underwear. And it's like, wow, we could maybe we could one day be on top of Mount Olympus and reach those heights. Probably not. No, we all suck at foosball. But those guys at least are humans, and there's some hope for us all. So for me, number 3, biggest takeaway from FoosTalk Live, Blake Robertson folds his own laundry.
Wow. Totally. That seems to me.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Top that, Mark.
Yeah. So my number 3 is, I think it's pretty cool. When I started to realize when people cared what we said, like they really started to care what we said. And there was nothing more indicative of that than the top 50. That was like, wow, we can really piss people off, and we could excite people, edify people, antagonize them, embitter them, and they're all listening. And that's a powerful thing in our little tiny microcosm of media, where we're highly visible because we have basically the mediums. We have the social media. We have this. People listen and they care about what we say, and there's different parts of that. There's marketing that's relevant too. There's obviously influence and being change agents. There's being entertaining is a big part of that. Just being entertaining, and all those things fit in there. And we don't have to be any singular thing. I mean, Clay is an influencer, and he comes around like once a month. Jim, of course, is a brand. Tom, you've made a presence in radio, and I mean in this capacity and growing. And Adam's got, everyone could do their own thing and be their own thing, and we could, as long as we caretake forward in a certain way. It doesn't mean we have to covet it and like just baby that, but as long as we are have, I guess, with humility, our own types of brands of humility, it's a wonderful thing to have people care about what you say about foosball. That's love it.
Yeah, and I think, and as you said, I think it's more evident, and I think people did care what we said, but it's more evident. We're doing this every single week, right? And we say a lot, but it's 2 hours every Sunday night, and so much information gets disseminated, and so much insight into the sport coming from those of us who have, fair insights to listen to and entertaining ones. My number 3, already talked about Tom, and now I'm going to talk about Mark first when he came on board. Clay, again, I've always felt Clay has just sort of been there when we needed him, and always been there when we needed him, and always brings so much to the table when he is on the air. But the first time Mark came on, the whole dynamic of the show changed, right? It was this thing between Tom and I, and it was working. It was good. It was solid. Sure. But when Mark came on, he brought this different sort of energy, right? This different dynamic to it, and it worked really, really well. The chemistry was there. Mark and I've always had great chemistry on the air, but it really came in, and obviously it merged with what Tom was doing, and it really, I think, it boosted us. It took us. It was sort of a fuel for us to keep moving forward. And then when Adam came on, and of course we all remember Adam's. We got a call from Adam. Mark was talking to Adam. He said, I'd love to come and work at the Nationals with you, and whatever that meant. I'm thinking, oh, good. He can plug in some cables and things and take some of the work and maybe set up some cameras and do some of that. Of course, he did none of that. But what he did was he brought really interesting insights, and not only to the Insights Foos booth, but also to FoosTalk Live. And I think, again, we saw, a tidal shift. Things sort of from there went in a little different direction. It grew. This thing called FoosTalk Live grew into this larger organism, now with 5 of us involved. And Adam's particular, very idiosyncratic and completely unusual take on things makes it interesting. Although, bottom line, same with Mark, same with Adam. They know the game inside and out. They know it really well. They know the history. They know the players. They know how you should play the game. And when you do that, it allows you to go off in these directions. Like Mark goes in, and then Adam goes in as well. And so, not to diminish what Clay obviously is a big part of a big piece of this as well. But when those 2 guys came on and joined Tom and Clay and I, it really boosted it and created this thing now that I think is pretty awesome. And in my opinion, having listened to a few podcasts and listened to talk radio and radio shows for a long time, I think we're as good as anybody at this stage of the game, or at least as interesting and coming at it from so many different angles. So, again, thank you guys for joining, and thank you for bringing what you bring. But those were two big moments for me, certainly.
Thank you, Jim.
Clay?
One of my favorite memories in all of 2021 was Worlds, the episode of the podcast where we did it live. And I was in charge of giving a topic for what the top 5 would be. I don't know if y'all remember what it was, but it was asinine. It was the top 5 moments for the weekend, but it had to be fiction.
Yeah.
So it was improv, and just the whole thing was hilarious. And I realized that Adam Gilson is easily top 3 funniest people that I personally know. And it might not even be top 3. It might be 2 or 1. I have not laughed that hard on air anywhere ever.
Adam killed it.
And if you haven't heard that episode, go back and listen to that and the top 5 in that. And I couldn't breathe. I have asthma. If I laugh too hard, it's a struggle for a little bit. And that's one of my favorite memories of the whole year. And
completely spontaneous, by the way.
Yeah.
Completely.
And the only thing that was better from 2021 for me is when Adam unblocked me on Facebook. So that's my number 3.
And well, you guys maybe aren't friends yet. At least you're tolerable. You tolerate each other.
God.
The thing about that Sunday night show at the Worlds too, we had all been at it for since like Wednesday. Working long days, commentating a lot of foosball, and at that stage, there's no filters left. There's no ability to really be disciplined with what you say. And Adam took it in places that literally had Clay rolling, had me rolling, Tom. And of course,
that was the night that I tried an IPA. It's the only time I've tried an IPA of the whole. And it's the only thing that I regret from that night. But the rest of it was awesome. The rest of it was amazing. That's when I realized that IPAs are basically pumpkin spice lattes for middle-aged white men.
Yeah, that's my favorite line.
Yeah. I think Mark remembers a little of that anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
So there you go.
Adam.
That's a fact, by the way. Adam really did unblock me. That did happen last year.
It's beautiful. All right, let's move on.
It's a part of.
Well,
take control, Tom.
I'll give you my take on number 3, which, by the way, to me, is the fact when I first stepped into Foosball Radio and started this, it was really because, well, first of all, I felt there was a void that needed to be filled. But I wasn't even remotely aware of the talent that had already existed within the ranks of foosball, the sport itself. And I would say the 4 top talents that have the biggest personalities in foosball are right here on FoosTalk Live. Jim, Mark, Adam, Clay, you're all here. That's an amazing takeaway for me. I had a feeling that there was talent like you. We just didn't know who it was going to be or how it was going to manifest. Of course, I knew about Jim's reputation. I knew that right from the beginning. But it's amazing what kind of talent exists within the sport and the kind of passion you guys have for this. So you all 4 are my takeaway for number 3.
Thank you, Tom. We do it. We all do it for you.
5. Number.
Here's a number. It's approximate. 54,700. 54,700. That's the downloads.
Oh, downloads.
Oh.
That's the downloads of FoosTalk Live, Foosball Radio on Podbean. Don't know where else it's being listened to. It can be listened to all kinds of other places and YouTube. But what that number really represents, and this is my number 2 takeaway, is you, the listeners.
Yes.
The people that are out there every single week or throughout the week when you download it and have your little drive or whatever it is you're doing, that are listening and tuning in and not just listening to foosball, because you're not really just listening to foosball, right? You're really sitting in the room with us talking. And I can't stress that enough, because I'm not a picky person, but there's not a lot of people that I would want to spend my time with. That makes me picky. All right, okay, whatever. But whatever. Hold on. Time limit. I'm just saying, the fact that you choose to spend your time with us and get your information about foosball from us and know about Blake Robertson folding his laundry from us, to me, that makes all the difference. And to me, it's moving. And I don't even know, again, as much as we exist because of Tom, we also exist because of you. So for me, number 2, those 54,000 plus that have downloaded, and all the listeners out there day in and day out, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow. Love it. Fantastic.
I have a similar one, so I could get to cut it short because that was so well said. For me, it's 2 things. It's absolutely the listeners, but the team that we have, this is a labor of love. We're not getting paid. We come out here and we spend 3 hours with pre and post show, and we do it because we care and we enjoy it. And the listener, there's nothing without the listeners. So yeah, I just want to thank you, Adam, for that great delivery, and I want to amplify that, and just let everyone know that we do this because people care and people listen, and there's nothing in it for us at this point other than delivering what we hope is something entertaining for people to listen to. So.
Yeah, for sure. I got to ditto that. It's we need energy for this. Where do we get the energy from? I illustrated how much I enjoy hanging out with you guys and doing this. The responses from the people, of course, feeling that we are needed and wanted and liked is a big deal. For me, my number 2, and this is part of that, the response we got to the top 50. For me, as somebody who has been around the sport since 1977, somebody who took this project very seriously, it was sort of, I guess, my baby to some degree. And each week I got to really do a deep dive into each of the 10 players we were talking about on that particular week. But it really gave me new insight into the history of the sport. It also was great pleasure knowing that there were people out there disagreeing with it and having other opinions and what that was based on. And again, we've talked about it so many times about that top 50 and how difficult it was. How do you I still have people saying, well, you should have done it this way, awarded points for the number of wins they had and this and that. But there's so much more to it than that, right? It was the eyeball test. It was obviously world championships. It was length of career or shortness of career, concentration of career in the 70s. There were so many aspects to it that it was fascinating for me. I thoroughly looked forward every Sunday to spending 2 to 3 hours to put together those bios on a late Sunday morning or early afternoon. And I learned so much and gained such great respect for these players. That list came out differently than I anticipated it would. But I also think we got it right. But the biggest thing, and again, maybe, what this show is all about, it was our initial goal to get it out there, to be interactive, to spread the word of foosball, but also to hear what people out there had to say. I think the biggest thing was the conversation that this initiated, right? It was the disagreement, which I love. I mean, that's great. Everybody's going to have opinions. But it was this project, which to me is the number one thing we've done on this show as far as projects go. My number 1, I'll take that in a little different place when we get to it. But as far as individual projects that we took on, this was the big one. This was the big one that people will talk about for years. We'll do it again in 5 years, and there'll be some different names on there. But I take great pride in what we did with this. And when people say, you're not even close and this and that, I don't think so. I think based on my now, 45 years in the sport, I think we did pretty good. And I'm proud of everybody who was involved with that project. And I personally take great pride in what we did with the top 50, which is my number 2.
Love it. Clay.
I feel bad. I had a joke for number 2. I don't feel very jokey, so we'll just save that punchline for another time. And I don't want to bump my number 1 to my number 2 because that's easily my actual number 1, and it's not a joke. So here I'll just say that I care about this podcast in a little bit different of a way. I'm not always here. Like I'm not always on. Even when I am here, I'm not always on mic. I genuinely believe that this is a product worth putting out, and I really care about how smoothly it goes. And sometimes I'm at a distance, and if I can pop my head in and throw a little piece of advice here and there, I do, like mostly technically, not necessarily content wise. But I think you guys are, and I'll say you guys here because I don't feel like I have a part in this. I think y'all are killing it. I think it's entertaining and fun to listen to. And you're right. There's not really another podcast in foosball. There are people who are foosball players who have done podcasts. Okay, that can be said. I don't consider really any of those. Whatever. This will hurt somebody's feelings, I'm sure, but I don't really consider any of those like valiant efforts or worthy attempts at doing something that is for the foosball player. And I think this is. So I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm glad that you're here. And that's my number 2.
Cool, man. Very, very cool.
Thank you, Clay.
Well, I'm going to take my number 2 in a slightly more sentimental direction. We were actually in conversations for a while now to talk to John O'Brien of the USA foosball clubs, and he unfortunately of late has been suffering from cancer and recovering. But he did want to send us along a message. He said, "Greetings and congratulations for myself and Foosball Clubs USA on the 100th broadcast of FoosTalk Live." So we want to pass along, I think my number 2 takeaway from FoosTalk Live is discovering John O'Brien. Just an amazing character, and he's fighting hard. He's gonna be with us for a while. We're looking forward to having him on the show very, very soon. But that's for the most part, that is how I feel about John. I think he's just an extraordinary human being, and he's planting the seeds for what's about to be probably the best era of foosball.
Yeah.
So
thank you, Tom. I agree. Great man.
FoosTalk Live proudly presents the top 5. Number 1.
I don't like making it about myself. I never do, but I have to here for number 1. But it's not even really about me. For me, the friendships that I've made here in FoosTalk Live has been restorative, has been something that has changed my life, has made me want to scratch my back with the best of them. Clay, Mark, Jim, Tom, I cannot thank you enough for the friendships we've made, how we've reconnected, some of us, Mark, Jim, how I've always felt like we've been good friends, but now we've been really closer. Clay, I know that I blocked you for whatever reason, but my God, anybody that has a big T on their hat, I'm assuming that's a Texas Rangers thing. I don't know. And Tom, nobody looks better in a suit than you do. That's an upside down middle finger, which means thank you.
Okay.
But I got to tell you, the 4 of you, thank you so much for your friendship. Thank you so much for everything that we've done in this last, what is it, almost 7, 8, 9, 10 months, a year, 40 years, I don't know. But for me, number 1, my takeaway from FoosTalk Live has been friendships, the ones that I've made from them, and not just here with you 4, but also everybody else too at the tournaments that I've been going to, and the wonderful, genuine welcome that I've gotten from other foosball players as well because of FoosTalk Live. So thank you 4, and thank you everybody else out there. I deeply appreciate it.
Cool.
Back at you, Adam.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Mark.
So foosball's really, really trippy. I like to think about things way too much, dig these mental ditches. And I in another life, I worked in gynecology, in obstetrics, and I worked in medical equipment devices. And I launched in Asia a transcervical sterilization procedure. And let me fast forward this. So there's all these sterilization procedures, all kinds of things that are minimally invasive, and then you go all the way up the spectrum of types of contraception. And where am I going with this? I used to get into these conversations with leading figures in obstetrics and gynecology, and they tell you nothing is going to be 100%. Unless you take the uterus out, you have a risk no matter what, 99.9%, and it's because life finds a way. Life finds a way to proliferate against all odds. Life will find a way. And foosball's weird like that. Foosball is a living, breathing, thriving organism that finds a way. I don't know what happens to us when we get the bug and we get fixated. It is generations and generations of people that become completely obsessed with this sport. We all come back to it somehow. It all lingers in the back of our minds. Even foosball pros from the 70s are still like in these conversations. They haven't touched a table in 25 years. They're still in these conversations. Foosball is going to be here forever. No, you can, if there were, I mean, you could find foosball tables in disparate dystopian countries where they put together like sticks and put together men and they're playing with cans. Foosball is a weird thing that is like life. It is an organism. It's going to thrive. It's going to move long after we're done doing this podcast. Someone will take up the mantle. It's going to be here and it's never going away. And it's going to stay with us for the rest of our lives in some capacity or another because it's in our DNA at this point. So the number one takeaway is foosball cannot be denied.
Wow.
Love it.
That was
Weird,
deep,
right?
man.
Weird, right?
Yeah,
Weird.
that was deep, and it's got me thinking. But also some of what you said, talking about the players from the 70s, et cetera, that's my number one. The biggest thing for me over these 100 shows has been, and I didn't expect it. I guess I hoped for it, I suppose, but even then I didn't really know what it was going to end up being. And that's when we've had these guests on. Like we had Mike Bowers on, Don Shalafu, Ken Allwell, Lewis Cartwright, Tony Bacon, Mike Green, of course, Bob Maloney, who is a listener, who listens every week. I get great emails from Bob. But it's all the stories. It's the history. It's us being able to take some of these players who maybe haven't spoken about the sport since the crash of '81. We've talked about that with so many different players. They all were so scarred by that. Of course, some players were so scarred that they committed suicide. It was a heavy time in '81. But what led up to that from 75 through '81 was magical for these guys. And every time we talk to them, we get to see it through their eyes. And in many cases, because of how much, and I've talked about this before, but because of how devastating the crash of '81 was when tournament soccer died after the World Championships in September of 1981, how everyone sort of had to kind of put that behind them and really kind of look away from it, right? Were hurt by it, painfully, deeply hurt by it. This greatest time of their lives, and that's what's been illuminated through so many eyes, is that 75 through 81 time was the greatest time. They remember every detail, every bit of it. It was the greatest times of their lives. Then it suddenly comes to an end, and they didn't talk about it for 40 years, right? And then they come on here, and we get to look back, and all of us, I think, fairly well schooled in foosball and pretty good communicators and interviewers, and we've drawn out of these players what it was like to not only compete in the 1970s and live through that amazing era where these guys were making a living, and it was everything to them. It was always going to be everything to them, right? And then suddenly it wasn't. And to see that through their eyes and experience that and allow them to work through it to some degree all these years later has left me deeply affected. As someone who cares so much about the sport and has dedicated so much of their life to the sport, it is something that I never thought I would get to experience. You know, I've here and there talked with people, but not like this, not like we do on this show, where people open up. And there's something about radio, Tom, right? You agree? There's something about the theater of the mind, right? Where you bring out more in people. And it's always been the case. Talk radio is an amazing thing because of that, and podcasts these days. Because you really can get in deep with these guys and these gals who have talked about it. And I don't want to leave out people like Cindy Head, who reminisced so beautifully, and Liz. But for me, that's been the biggest thing, and it touches me really deeply on an intellectual level, on an emotional level, and in my soul, my foosball soul. And for me, number one, it's the history that we've got to experience through the eyes of these very special interviews and conversations we've had with people who have been so important in the sport and have experienced so much. So for me, number one, history through interviews, I suppose I would put it.
Wow. You just changed my mind about my first takeaway. But Clay, what is your Clay? Clay, what is your takeaway from FoosTalk Live?
My number one takeaway has been in concrete for a long time. I saved it for this moment, and that's not a joke. But first, Honorable mentions. Actually, I just want to. I just have one punchline. I got to get this out. It's going to drive me nuts. Is it doesn't matter whether or not what you're saying is true, as long as you say it around people who don't know any better. That was going to be one of mine earlier in the list, but I didn't feel like being silly. My number one takeaway from the first 100 episodes, or the first episode all the way through now, is quite simply this: is that Tom Robinson is the ultimate pro. And without Jim, maybe the show isn't historically as accurate, or without Adam, maybe it's not as funny, and without Mark, maybe it's not as loud or whatever. Like, everybody has their own quality that they add, and it's all good. It's all ingredients that make the meal better. Like, I'm not saying that any of those are insignificant, but what I am saying is, without Tom Robinson, it doesn't exist, and I believe that. And it's not just because it was his idea, although that's obviously a huge part of it. But Tom is the ultimate pro, and I've said that on more than one occasion. That's not just a nickname that I just made up. I've been saying that. I mean, he been the ultimate pro for a minute. All right, and I believe that. Hey man, sometimes I sneak up in here, man. Just let it happen. Just let it be. But all jokes aside, and I'll say this with my voice because I believe this, Tom Robinson is the ultimate pro. And we are so lucky that he is interested in foosball, because there's a lot of places, a lot of industries, a lot of places in the world where a voice like that is just so desired. And not just only the audible texture and tones of what Tom Robinson sounds like. I don't just mean that. I'm saying that who he is and what he offers to us is priceless, and Tom is the ultimate pro. I'll say it one last time, and that is my number one takeaway from the first 100 episodes of the podcast.
We don't get to 100 episodes without Tom Robinson. We don't get to 20 episodes without Tom Robinson. And I couldn't agree more, Clay, that he's the glue that holds this all together. He's the rationale in a sea of craziness. But also, it's just his professionalism, its history, experience.
That couldn't be more clear. That couldn't be more clear than when he doesn't want to when he wants to go on vacation. We don't have a show.
It don't happen. It doesn't happen. He plays the best of, and guess who does that? That's Tom too, by the way. Yeah. It ain't like one of us. It ain't like
his own vacation.
Tom doesn't say, "Hey, I'm going out of town. Somebody handle it," because it'd be like, no.
And while we're talking Tom, though, the other thing that's really cool is how much he has grown. Right, in terms of food knowledge and experience and understanding and all of that. I mean, some of his early questions: which kind of rod do you like the best, hollow or solid? And
that's a legit question, by the way. Don't shit on that. That's a good question. Really Fireball or tornado?
He's grown from there. But his understanding now. I mean, he's also now doing play-by-play and commentary, and he's done a little color with us, and he's just. It's great to see a young guy like him grow.
I'm humbled that you would always say this. I love to laugh.
We take Venmo.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I had a feeling, but no, it's this is probably the greatest thing I think I've ever done as a pro.
Really?
Wow,
it's amazing. I love that.
Wow,
great.
Wow.
And Tom, you should know that it was just me and Clay had you on our lists. The other two didn't.
No, I did.
So.
Yeah, no, they piggyback. No, shut up. He does some piggyback looking. This is what I mean by you can make it loud. You could have been quiet and you went for loud instead.
I gotta tell you something right now, Tom. He's not
even finished. Tom ain't done. Let the man talk.
Keep going.
I'll clarify just so I make myself clear is that. It's the greatest thing I've ever done because you allow me to be whoever I want to be. It's like I can take these things that I've gained along the way as a, beginning as a rank amateur in broadcasting and coming up through the ranks there. I had no idea what kind of things that I was capable of until this came along. And now I get to do whatever. And it's like whatever the F I want. When it comes to putting together the sound or... it's an amazing experience for someone like myself who had to work within formatted radio for 3 decades, when they were telling you what to play at the time of the day to play it and how many times.
How horrible!
So restrictive.
Start calling this man the ultimate pro. Anybody who can hear this, you better call him his name next time you see him.
Let me tell you what, this is for real. This may offend Jim, but there are some people that will argue that this is the best product that InsideFoos has. So what's up with that?
Oh, well, it existed. I mean,
I don't. Yeah, I don't take offense to that because knowing that I'm 20% of that is good enough.
You're more than 20%. Take a look here. At least. Yeah,
What a weird time to start a fight, Adam. What were you about to say that we wanted to hear? Jesus.
Hey, I gotta have my fun.
Well, all right. Were you going to make a comment there? Because
me? No, I was just going to say that your what did you say? Your whatever? Your whatever is amazing. You get to do whatever, right? So
I would like to. Yeah, you do, and I would like to hear because I went through that whole long diatribe about the history and the players we've talked to. I'd like to hear you guys and your reactions to that. In thinking about what that has meant to this product.
I will say number one for me on the list. All kidding aside, is the players and the listeners, because the listeners are the players. It's an astoundingly loyal family. The family, that's what it's all about. And to be accepted by the family as an outsider, I can't tell you how that feels. It's amazing.
Yeah, we had to threaten a lot of people to make sure they accepted you, though. We let them know. You mess with Tom, you're messing with.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, I played in exactly one event at Worlds this year, and Tom was my partner. And if I play one event next year, Tom will be my partner. So you ain't from the outside looking in, homeboy. You're here.
All right, I feel that. I do generally feel that, and I wouldn't have said it otherwise. But yeah, no, it's the family is number one for me when it comes to.
Can I ask you a quick question, Tom? The tie. Have you ever previously worn that tie? And if you did, where did you wear it to?
I used to lecture, and so yes, I would show up in a tie.
That tie.
That tie?
This tie, yes.
So you when
that
you
tie,
teach,
that's the kind of tie you snort lines of cocaine off of.
Right. No, you're teaching. Yeah, no. It's not off of. That's when you're in the bathroom and everybody's waiting for you to come back and do your meeting. But no, my question to you is. Wait, do people know that we see each other right now?
No, they don't have any idea that we can see
now.
each other right now.
They have an
Watch it. If you're listening live, we're going to release this, hopefully, if all goes well, we're going to release this video. We're all on video right now. Tomorrow, the next day, whenever we can.
Yes. Kind of like
and you can see Tom's tie. That's the big selling point.
And if they don't know that we can see each other by now, they're probably just from Oklahoma. Go ahead, Adam.
Where can they see us anyway? Where can they see us? We're not streaming anywhere, are we?
No. Our words have kind of made it sound like, because there was a couple times where
we're going to release
Jim
this
said,
tomorrow.
"Where did Adam go?" And then Jim gave me some crap, and it hurt, but I'm okay.
Right, you can take it. We're close enough friends now. You can take the crap.
You asked a question I didn't forget about. Jim, you asked a question I didn't forget about. In terms of your number one, that appeals to me. That appealed to me because I'm compelled. I love the history of the sport, and I love. There seems to be a disengagement though with a certain era. I don't know which era it was, but definitely the people from the '90s love that because we were still looking for it. So the people from the 80s, when TS fell apart, they were desperate for it to come back and looking for that answer. We're talking about the big money and everything. And the people in the 90s, we were the same. We were one generation removed. So I thought that was amazing. The top 50 was amazing. The lore and mixing the facts with the mythology, and then Adam bringing the details from the TS era with the documentation and your memory, and then everyone coming together, especially our great friend Johnny Lott, who was just such a huge advocate of what we were doing. All that stuff was really, really beautiful. It was an amazing time.
No sarcasm intended.
Well, and I, as somebody that is a big fan of research and looking into things on a level that I really wish that I didn't know. Like, I don't want to know the things that I know about the things that I know, but I know them. And I think that a lot of the difficulty that comes with that list, one, it's hard to go from generation to generation and have some kind of, like, obviously it was the eyeball test, and there was all these different things that we've talked about extensively. You could listen to the show, those episodes. But I think that the hardest thing for people was to be contextualized. They don't want to hear the thing that they love most, but in context with a large group of other things that have been going on for the past 40, 50 years. And it's hard. I don't get me wrong. I get that. I get that 100%. I feel it in my soul, but I think there's, I don't want to say pushback, but I think that a lot of the controversy, and it was good controversy, and it's always good to talk about this, but I think what it boiled down to, and Mark, you talked about that beautifully when you're talking about the mirror that this list holds up to you, but even in the larger stage that we're really talking about is once your legacy has been pigeonholed into a certain place and time within something that you love, and Mark, you talked about it again. We all come back to foosball. We always come back to this, right? Mm-hmm. And that's hard when we talk about that top 50 list and why it's so controversial, because you get pigeonholed, you get contextualized, and you start questioning what it is that you did. You know, and I love that. But I love that though, because it's hard, because I just turned 40. And I'm thinking about all the stuff that I didn't do, and I'm looking at that, and that's just like life. I'm not talking about foosball, so I don't know. I don't mean to get so metatextual about it to get all crazy on you all, but like I'm just thinking that thing, that top 50 list wasn't just like us contextualizing stuff. That was an existential crisis for a lot of people for good reason. For good reason, because if I was there in that list, which I'm not even close. Like I'm in a different, like, you know, like the solar system. It would affect me too. I'd be like, damn, where am I?
Yeah. No, and it stirred people's emotions, you know, and they had to look at things. And maybe they hadn't looked at it at a long time. By the way, Adam, I have you at 187, just 14 places behind Clay. But people were stirred by it, right? It stirred things up. Talk to our great friend Ken Allwell. When we first started doing this, he ended up calling, you know, like 10 of the people on that list, his old competitors and friends and partners from back in the day, because people did start to look at it again. And when I said that the people were they had blocked it for 40 years, there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of these people did. It was incredibly painful. It was incredibly painful for me as a very young player. When that happened, it was shocking, right? When that 81 crash occurred. And a lot of players never wanted to look at it again. So when you say it was an existential crisis, it absolutely was, to some degree, for many players, in a good way, I think, for the most part. But it's important to kind of, and that's what this show does, right? We could look at stats, we could look at pictures, we could hear people tell stories over a beer at a tournament, but we kind of really did a deep dive here into it and stirred the pot and created, I think, tremendous conversation.
It was interesting that the reaction was almost instantaneous. Yeah. We actually have I was going to say we have somebody calling in, but they just if you're trying to call in, by the way, and you want to talk to us, you are more than welcome to call in.
And you don't live in Brazil or Toronto
or Oklahoma. Let's be real. Unless you're Tommy Atkinson, I like that part of Oklahoma. And Ryan.
But no, it's hard.
Tommy is a big part. Now Tommy's a zip code, by the way. Tommy's gotten big enough to be a zip code.
Not what I meant, but okay.
None of us.
Just make sure that everybody knows that was not my joke.
That's what Mark does.
He's listening right now.
Boy.
Tommy is one of my favorite people in all of foosball.
Tommy is.
Makes me sad that he's
Tommy
from Oklahoma.
You know, how many times can you do a top 50? And I mean, you could do it, I suppose, every year, but it still would be the same, right? I mean, you wouldn't.
It's gonna change.
Give it a decade. Evan McGregor will be on there.
Yeah,
give Blake another year or two, and he's gonna be.
Blake
well, the NBA waited 25 years. They won 50, and then they won 75.
I didn't know Blake played in the NBA.
Yeah, Blake.
Yeah.
And he didn't play much. He was on the bench, just like he was in 2009 for Team USA.
That's painful and unnecessary.
Whoa.
That was a blow.
He was like 18, 17.
Yeah, I know.
Speaking of which, and I guess we can talk other, toss other topics around. I guess Donald Wilson, the head of the USTSO, here in the next week or so, is going to announce the teams for Nantes, the World Cup this year, which is coming up end of June, early July. Mm-hmm. And so that's interesting. You know, we've got the Hall of Fame Classic, always a great event. Has not been held in 3 years. How about that, folks? There's not been a tournament in Las Vegas since 2019.
Really?
And that's coming up here in about 5 weeks in Las Vegas, which is always it's at the Golden Nugget, always a great event hosted by IFP and Mary Moore. And so there's still
Clay's counting years. Clay's counting years.
Yeah, Clay. He's all Tom Robinson.
Yeah. 19 to 20, 20 to 21. 20.
I don't know what you guys are talking about, and this is unnecessary hate in my direction. I don't appreciate it.
But there certainly has been a sea change, I think, to some degree. We're seeing more young players. I think things, whether it's specific or whether it's just kind of a feel thing, things do feel a little different here in 2022 than they did 3 years ago, 3 years ago, in the way that we look at tournaments, the way we look at the sport. Of course, what happened at Thunderdome a couple of weeks ago, I think, changed the way a lot of players view the sport and where the sport can go.
Right.
And certainly the World Cup, the continuing work of the great Farid Lunas and the ITSF, who again have not really been able to do anything in 3 years. So there's things happening, a lot of good stuff happening, and I think people are starting to look a little bit outside the box and do things a little differently. And thanks again to what happened at South Florida Foosball Club, Mark Torres, et cetera, who ran that event 2 weeks ago. And that was a big change, I think, in where things are headed.
Can I interject in that particular topic, Mark? Yesterday was our Smashdown here in Albany. We had a decent amount of players show up. And one of the hottest topics among all the players, people I just walked around and talked to, spontaneously raised, hey man, what is this Thunderdome thing? What is this all about? How do we do that?
Hey, was Sweeting and Ramsey there? Or no, they're further away.
They didn't make it, but regardless, there were quite a few others that were aware of it. And now we've made a decision here in Albany. We're going to base our next Smashdown on that format.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Nice.
Let me say something about that. I don't have any proprietary or licensing or franchising interest in that format. I want to deliver it. Everybody who wants to do it, I want them to do it. I would only hope that they take some guidance. You can't just have a format and it'll work. You need to have pull through and marketing and people that know what they're doing. I will give every asset and every spreadsheet and everything to anyone who wants to do it. I would just hope that, like I said, take some guidance, hear me out a little bit, let me explain how to do this appropriately. The worst thing would be that it goes out and someone does some bastardized version of it and it fails and it's got a bad rap. And that doesn't help anybody, but I'm super excited for you guys to do this. And let me tell you that one of the biggest things from that event that I couldn't be more proud of is that it stimulated local activity. Beginners, rookies, and amateurs are playing their tails off in Florida, all over Florida. The draw your partners are going through the roof. Everyone's showing up to play, and the pros or masters are gearing up because they're waiting for their version of it. So it's not just like some people were concerned, oh, you do this thing and it's going to affect this. Maybe there is a little bit of that. But more importantly, the local scenes, because you got a ton of players that don't travel. They don't go anywhere. So guess what? You give them something to work toward, a milestone. They work hard. They play in it. It's exciting. They get 3x or 4x the amount of foosball they'd play at a tour event. And now these play, and you give them packages too. Every single promoter, I got all those packages. Now you give them a reason to go to your tournament. Right. They have a reason to fight for and a reason. So I think to stimulate local activity and on a regional scale, and I'll say this one last thing. I've said it probably 3 times before. Texas State's a Big Tent event. Colorado State, Hall of Fame Classic. These events must exist. They're the big tent where everyone congregates and goes. But these regional events are going to be what grows. It's the local scene that grows foosball. Anyway, that's my shtick.
So true.
It's a catalyst. Absolutely.
Yeah. It is. Well, it's the foundation of all of it, right? Local leads regional, and there need to be more of these regional events, which are simply regional. They're not viewed as national events trying to get a national attendance. You focus in on your players in that part of your state or region or whatever. And that's how it used to be, and it worked. That was one of the things that did work. It supports local. It also supports the big major championships, the big tent events, as Mark put it so well. But it's something that we need to continue to illuminate, continue to focus on, and continue to really strive to execute, looking at it from that point of view.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever format.
I want to highlight something that I've noticed about this. Is maybe an honorable mention for FoosTalk Live, but anytime I say anything that's actually insightful or good, Mark ends up stealing it about 2 months later and making it sound like his.
Yeah. That's a compliment to you, though, buddy.
I guess so, but one of my top 5s was the regional events is where it's at, and then Mark just took it and made it his own. So
and it sounds
I'm going to take the compliment.
Okay, man, when you deliver something with charisma, it changes everything.
It does. And, of course, I had never spoken about regional events before Adam did.
Right. Seriously. So I guess I'm just going to get hosed here, and that's fine. That's nice.
Better you than Clay.
Yeah. I love the fact that
I don't even know what that means.
Also been doing some.
But guys, you know, again, celebrating 100 shows, right? That's what tonight's all about. Kind of looking at us, and whether anyone else finds this entertaining besides the five of us, I don't know. But it is celebrating 100 shows of what we think, and I think what most of you think, has been a pretty effective way to really look deeper into foosball. You know, obviously we're going to talk about what's upcoming. We're going to talk about who's hot and who's not. Mm-hmm. But really, again, to illuminate that one point, number one for me, it's the history of the sport that I've been most proud of, as far as the way that we have approached this show. So
okay, so that leads me to my next question, and I'm going to throw this out to all of you. Let's start with Mark. The next 100 episodes, what do you think we should include to make it better or more entertaining? Mark?
Oh, what should we include? I think we might have the traction now to reach deeper into the well for. I mean, I'd love to hear, like, there's guys like Doug Furry, man. These are unicorns, right? Mm-hmm. Lafredo somehow has become a unicorn, and Johnny Horton is. I love Johnny. He's like all over the place, and he's got anxiety stuff. But we get Johnny Horton on here. Maybe Mike Green needs to come on with Johnny. You get these, and then there's going the other direction too. Like we had Jacob Balkos on. We had Ethan Nguyen on. So right. I guess we got to go in both directions with guests. And I think the other thing we got to do is if we do have traction, being highly influential on the regional event scene, we need to go all out with our reach to ensure the success of those as much as we can by driving visibility to those events. So,
cool. Love it. Jim?
You know, for me, the one thing I've always wanted and the one thing I envisioned when we first started this show was that it was going to be a talk radio kind of show. Mm-hmm. Getting people to speak up, getting them to call in, quote unquote, has been difficult. So I was thinking earlier today, it just sort of occurred to me. I don't remember. I was taking a foot of snow off my car or something out my driveway, and then shoveling as we have to do. But it's, you know, how can we get more interaction? And it occurred to me that, you know, we use the Discord app, right? Well, so why not, however we want to do it, give certain people, whether it's from their support of the show or donations or whatever, give them sort of entry into our green room whenever they wanted to, right? Whenever they wanted to come on and have an opinion, or come on and do something. However we get to the point and we, you know, where people can do that, we bring them into the green room and then bring them on because I know there are voices out there, and it's just encouraging that and giving them an easy way to do that. Because to me, you know, as a talk radio fan for so many years, it's the interaction with the people out there, getting their questions, and when we get it, it's magic, right? It's just been so seldom, and I don't know what would encourage that, and I think that's where I'd like to see us go a little bit more, really, to hear what the people out there have to say.
So, Adam, same question to you. It is basically over the next 100 episodes of FoosTalk Live. What do you think you would like to hear as a fan, as a listener, as a player?
More audience interaction.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how that works. I mean, Jim just outlined something. I don't know if it's Discord or podcast chat or whatever. Like, just some way for people to, like, even if it's in text messages. I don't care. What I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm just saying. I want people, like, I mean, let me backtrack and just say, as much as I love that number of 54,700 downloads and all the people that are subscribing, shame on you for not asking more questions. Shame, shame, shame. You are all as interesting as any of us. I want to hear what you have to say, like 100%. And people, and I get Blake actually told me that every time I mention his name, he sends me $10 worth of crawfish. So that's why I'm bringing him up. Yeah. So Blake, So Blake wants to know how he folds his socks. You all need to chime in and ask, please. You know, the onus is on you all. We are interesting because of you.
Yeah. Huh? Does Blake use bleach? That's a question I always wanted to, with his whites, of course.
Color safe bleach.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating stuff.
This is hard-hitting journalism.
Clay, now I'm saving you for the last because I really want to know what you think.
Because you know I'm going to take this question seriously, and I'm not going to make a joke out of it, which is what I usually do.
That was serious.
I'm talking about me. We're not talking about you, Adam. Your turn is over.
Sorry, I got a little mark on you.
I'm sorry, I got a mark on myself. I think now I can't even say my joke. Now that has to be the joke, because the thing I was going to say was going to be funny, but we'll just skip to the serious part. There's three things, and one of them is kind of a continuation of what was already said. But I think I, as a listener and a fan, would love to see a live stream of the show, and I have made my opinion about Podbean very public, and I'm not saying to stop using Podbean. If you went over to a streaming service where an actual live stream would be held, you would have your interaction, I think, a lot more. And Twitch is where things like this happen, and people love this kind of stuff there. And I guarantee you, this is the only thing going down on Twitch like this. And I think that, I'm debating on whether I say this. I did out loud. I love the pre-show and the post-show are the best things that happen for me. I love what happens before and after the show, and I think like a post, kind of what you're talking about with having the Discord access, like that would give people like post-show access too. Things are a little different as the flavor changes a tad bit when the record light goes off. All right, and it's fun. Those are two pieces that I think would really enhance things for whoever cared to join. And one thing that's very unique from any of that I would love to see, like a listener-driven player of the week, and it doesn't have to be like top player or top winning this or that, or just like just tell us who is your local badass or most interesting player, or something like that. And we don't know everybody. Like I love that you all let me attach my shooting the shot idea to your podcast. It went on your channel, and when it's mine, I do it, nobody tells me what to do, but it's something that I had the freedom to just talk to people. I think people are fascinating, and even people from Oklahoma, I love hearing from them.
49 states for you, buddy.
49 and a half. But no, I mean, I wasn't going to say it. I love all foosball players are interesting. Even the ones that I don't like are interesting, and that's not a joke. That's just the truth for me. And there's no way that we could talk to all of them. It's just not possible. I mean, it's just not happening. But what is possible is for someone to take 90 seconds, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever, and your smartphone has a voice recorder on it. The quality that you can record with that is unreal compared to what we had with tape recorders in the 80s, 90s, and whatever. So I think like a listener-driven player of the week, record something and send it to us, and just brag on somebody in your local DYP. Tell us what makes them worthy of publicity or public recognition or whatever. Sure. And again, it doesn't have to be the best. It could just be like the most interesting, or the person who runs the DYP, and it's a thankless position. It's something that you do, and you only hear when people are mad, and you don't hear often when people are happy with your job as a DYP, manager, however you want to call that. So a listener-driven player of the week. It'd be easy. You could send that to Tom, and he could chop it up, and it could be a segment that we do instead of drink IPAs. But that's
and for me, with Clay's perspective, because Clay to me has always been like the super fan. He number one. Clay is a fan.
I'm a fan. Period.
A fan.
And sometimes I do shit, but I'm a fan.
Other things, but you're a fan.
Yeah.
And so whenever he comes with this stuff, I listen very closely, because he represents a large demographic of players out there. Feeling like he does, and people that can't communicate it as well. So I think it's a fabulous idea.
No, it's we're already doing the honor group of the week, which I think is certainly worthwhile. But to have the player of the week, that would be really cool.
And the voice of the listener, like it's not me. It's not me telling you, and it's Tom. As much as I've already told you, the ultimate pro, Jim's the voice of foosball. But I want to hear it from Uncle Pawpaw down at the local DYP. Not Uncle Pawpaw, somebody else.
Pawpaw.
Yeah, tell us what is so awesome about this, man. You will not regret having that on your podcast.
It's a beautiful feature. I love that.
I definitely dig that. We'll have to make that happen for sure. And if you're listening to FoosTalk Live right now, make a note. Yeah.
Just do it.
Let's do it. Just make it quick, 30 seconds on your phone, and send us the file, and we'll do it up. So.
And while Tom's not listening, I'm going to say, do 90 seconds and Tom can cut it down. Do 90 because you can't make it in 30. You ain't a pro. You ain't Tom Robinson. You do it 90 seconds, and then he'll cut it down. Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
We'll also recognize that part of the country, right? Whoever the focus of that is, we'll look at what that part of the country, what their scene is like, and get an even better feel for what's going on in whatever part of the world that would be. So, no, I love that idea. Tom, get on that, would you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right here. I'm ready. I need more stuff to do, man. I'm getting bored all of a sudden here.
That's on the listener, by the way. Listener, you get on that. You record something and you send it.
I love that idea. Two great ideas have come out of this. The other one is we've got to get Doug Furry. We've got to get Todd Lafredo. We've got to get Johnny Horton if we can, and these sorts of names. And really, why wouldn't we? We are the perfect platform for them to give their perspectives.
Yeah, and this is something I've been talking about this, but the problem is scheduling as far as I wanted to do this oral history of foosball starting all the way back in the early 70s, getting Cal Rogers, Lee Peppard. But the problem is scheduling for me, for that end. But I mean, that might be one of those things that we need to have. Cal Rogers, of course, was the architect of Tournament Soccer's promotional thing that they did for the $1 Million Tour and everything. I think everybody knows who Lee Peppard is. But I think having those names and talking would be phenomenal. But I think it's about the logistics and just it might not work for a live broadcast. But there's just so many things we could be doing in that regard.
Well, that's it. It may not work for a live broadcast, but take what you can get. If there's some capacity to phone call, Zoom call, and record the Zoom call with their knowledge, and we just becomes a feature. And
I mean, Mark, you did a great job with Kelly Stites.
Sure. 100%. Yep.
Tornadoes. So. We could do that again for sure.
Yeah, 100 down and another 100 to go, and I think certainly we have generated some ideas here moving forward, and that's one thing about this show that we've seen in 100 shows, and that was kind of my number 6 maybe was how far we have come since that first show, which was evident with those video sound or audio sound bites earlier on. But we're going to continue to evolve, continue to improve, continue to grow as a show, and hopefully that means more involvement from those of you out there. But, we are motivated to continue to bring you foosball, and if we're having fun with it, that means it's probably pretty good stuff.
Yep.
And we're going to continue to try to have fun and educate not only ourselves, but the rest of you out there listening as well.
Yeah. If you can educate me about this sport.
That's really our goal.
Yeah.
If we can educate you, we're educating everybody.
Really, it's great. It is terrific. And it's a great source.
I think, I don't know, we have some people from the tournaments going on this weekend. Is that true, Tom?
So we had, I know Blake was going to check in with us from Costa Rica, although he's in open double still. So
I know Judy is on hold to come on, from what I understand.
Okay.
But let me double check that. Judy from the Arnold, of course.
Ah, yes, the Arnold in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. So, Judy, are you there with us?
I am.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well. How are you guys?
I can't complain. So, Judy, you've been spending the weekend with Arnold Schwarzenegger, we understand.
I wish.
Très joli.
What I've been spending the weekend with is InsideFoos via Ashley, and we want to thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
For coming down and live streaming the tournament we had.
Well, that is one of the things that's the side benefits of InsideFoos lately has been able to do those kinds of remote broadcasts, and we're having a blast with it.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's everybody was really excited. We started on Friday and we finished up probably about 9 o'clock with our no conflict DYP.
Okay.
And everybody should be home safe, and it was just a great experience.
So how many players showed up for the tournament?
Registration wise, I believe we had just a little over 100.
Nice. Well, that's excellent.
Yeah. Yes, it was, Tom. We had starting on Friday, we had our goalie wars, and then we did the Monster DYP. And in the Monster DYP, we had 51 players. We did 8 rounds, and then we took it to the elimination of 16 players. And so that turned out really well, and everybody is really enjoying the Monster format.
Right. Oh, you guys did. Yeah, Monster is the best. No question about that. Everybody gets to play for a lot.
Yeah. Hey, Judy. Jim Stevens here. How are you? Now, tell the listeners a little bit about the Arnold Festival. Of course, it's basically promoted and sponsored and run by, at the very top, by Arnold Schwarzenegger and company, and it encompasses lots of different sports all coming together for a weekend. And of course, it's been a couple of years since this festival was held, I believe. But talk a little bit about what this festival is, what it means, and maybe how many people are in attendance there in Columbus.
Sure. Thanks for asking, Jim. It started back in, well, originally the idea started before Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor, before he was the actor. He was Mr. Universe. He was a bodybuilder. So he came to Columbus because of a competition. And at the time, that was in the late 70s, early 80s, and he told the promoter, after I retire from that, I want to start a sports festival. And by golly, 5 years later, he came back in 1989. They started the Arnold Sports Festival. So it has just grown and grown. And basically, they moved from one facility to now it's in a larger facility. It's in our Columbus Convention Center that are hooked on, connected to hotels, where the other was just a freestanding building. We've got, they believe attendance would be over 20,000 athletes.
Wow.
Wow. 80 countries. Arnold has taken this idea from Columbus, Ohio, and now he has competitions, I believe, in Brazil. He's gone international. He has, I believe, this is still his number one, but he has five other, and I think one every continent. So
that's amazing. Yeah. So he had a lot of success in the first year, and then at the end of that weekend, he said, "I'll be back," and he came back the next year as well. That's good to know.
He did. So, and we, each year, they try to add about 5 different sports or activities. Well, let's call them sports. And so it was back in 2019 that through our promoters, Tim Littoral, Steve Vining, and Justin Bayhas, co-chairs, they went and we got accepted. So back in 2019, that was our first one. And at that one, I did not compete because I just kind of started playing again. But at that time, I worked over at the fairgrounds and did the Kids Expo. Had 2 foosball tables, had the boxes, and kids just loved to just get up and play. Gave them ribbons for winning. Yeah, so the Kids Expo was really fun. Then of course COVID hit, and so now we're back.
Wow, that sounds like a successful weekend to say the least. And of course now foosball is starting to grow in leaps and bounds, and you're in the right place at the right time.
Yes, we are. And one thing that I thought maybe since I think most everybody's on there, the new event at the Arnold, one of them this year was slap fighting championships.
Really?
Yeah, love slap fighting.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
I've commentated it back in my early days. Not a lot to it. Not a lot of strategy. No, Judy, sounds like you had fun this weekend. Sounds like everybody did. And it's great to know that the Arnold is back and is going to become an annual presence, I think, on the not only our tournament scene, but also all those other sports as well. And thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. And again, thanks for sending Ashley. And we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much, Judy. And yeah, looking forward to 2023 for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Judy.
Bye-bye.
Clay?
Yeah, what's up, Jim?
I don't know. I just felt like you had a comment coming.
A comment?
No, all right, more than one. Maybe we don't have time then for.
I don't want to eat up too much of it. We have like 7 minutes left.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's cool. Tournament down in Costa Rica this weekend. Of course, we all wish we could be down there right now, especially after a foot of snow here in Durango. And I know, Tom, you've had some cold weather come through, although today apparently quite warm in the mountains, foothills of the Adirondacks.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, 100 shows in. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to do this primarily because we enjoy doing it so much. But also, it's really satisfying, I think, to know that we're appreciated, to know that we're doing something productive. And again, specifically with obviously promoting events like the Arnold in Costa Rica and the upcoming Hall of Fame Classic, Moneyball, et cetera. But also just the way we can really look deep into the sport and kind of illuminate some of the stories that maybe have been forgotten and certainly should not be.
Right. It's. I think that the other concept, of course, now that COVID is no longer as much of an issue, being able to get out on the road with FoosTalk Live and doing our thing, perhaps in front of an audience sometime.
Yeah.
Ooh, that'd be wild. God, that'd be crazy. A town hall meeting with foosball players.
I'm picturing Let's Make a Deal. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. I was born for that.
Actually, here's another idea.
In among the people. Yeah, it'd be great.
I have another idea to add to the list we were talking about, how to make the next 100 episodes better. And one of those being, and you could tie this in with the IPA related stuff, because I know how popular that is. I think if what we do before the show, we come up with a topic of, like, we're going to talk to like a town hall meeting for foosball players. Mm-hmm. And we each pick a phrase that when somebody says that phrase or brings up that topic, everybody else has to take a shot or they have to take a drink. So, for example, I could say every time somebody complains about the point system, then you all have to take a shot. And the people don't know that. So we just basically are predicting the kind of things that the foosball players would be upset about.
I just, I'm going to say this real quick here. I just got a text message from Mike Green from Scott O'Hare. So Scott O'Hare, by way of Mike Green, saying for the Costa Rica tournament, wanted everybody to know how awesome the Costa Rica tournament was. Even with the heat, it was incredible. And all the top players will make it every year. Anyone who didn't come should for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't believe they have air conditioning in Costa Rica.
I don't think they have electricity.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
There's a beach, and everybody's having fun there.
A steamy garage.
They have
going
water
late into the night.
I just want to see a steamy garage.
Kevin Romero just playing all night long, every night.
Jim,
no air conditioning in the garage. Costa Rica.
Oh,
is that the reason?
Bringing me back, Jim, you're bringing me back to the halcyon days when I first started commentating last June.
Yeah.
Do you think that's is the lack of air conditioning? Do you think that is that the reason that none of them grow beyond 5'4"?
It could be.
Okay.
Guys, I think it's time to wrap it up. We're up against it, but again,
we got 5 minutes.
By.
I don't know what you're talking about. We got 5 minutes.
I got 3.5 on mine.
Tom, what are we looking like, Tom?
Yeah, it's 3.5, but no. I would say, this freestyle that we just did, jamming on about the last 100 episodes, has been enlightening, to say the least. But nonetheless, a great time. And I would do this if it was the last thing on the planet that I could possibly do before I check out. It would have to be this show.
Now, even if we had no listeners at all, which may be the case tonight, for all we know, it's still a lot of fun to hang out. And as somebody who comes from the Centennial State, which Colorado achieved statehood in 1876, 100 years after the Revolution. 100 is a big number here in Colorado, and it's a big number here at FoosTalk Live as well. And I think we can I'm really proud. I know we all are. 100's unbelievable, Tom. When you and I first talked about this 2 years ago, and now here we are with 100 shows under our belt.
Here's the irony of it all. It was because of COVID.
Yeah.
It was because of COVID that we said, we got to do this. We got to do this live and not just as a podcast. And on we go. So the future is wide open. We're looking forward to it. Lots of tournaments coming up. And yes, of course, we're going to finish off tonight's 100th episode, as we have in the last couple of episodes, with a full list of all the upcoming tournaments. So including the World Cup, which is happening this July, which we're going to have a lot to talk about there. So thanks, my personal thanks to you as a listener for taking the time, as Adam said earlier, to take the time out of your day to listen to it, download us, or just to listen live. We greatly appreciate it. It's because of you that we were able to last this long, and hopefully another 100 episodes. But my sincere thanks to Adam and Clay and Mark, and especially you, Jim, because you are the father of our child.
Oh. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not taking that anywhere else. I appreciate that.
How could you? How could you at this point?
Asking for the car keys very soon here, so I hope you're ready for that. But
this is just a whole new level. I love it. Okay, that's a spin-off podcast. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Shooting the what?
Good night, everybody.
All right. We'll catch you next week for 101 episodes of FoosTalk Live. Foosball tournaments are everywhere. FoosTalk Live proudly presents a weekly update of the events near you with the FoosTalk Live Tournament Beat. Here's what's up. Here comes the $11,000 Wisconsin State Championships, March 10th through the 13th. Mad Apple Billiards, 3025 West College Ave in Appleton, Wisconsin. Who could forget the Moneyball Northwest Foosball Tournament, March 17th through the 20th? That's taking place at the Crown Plaza Hotel in Portland, Oregon. The Battle in the Mountains $10,000 Foosball Tournament, March 25th through the 27th, taking place at Crown Plaza Hotel and Resort, Asheville, North Carolina. The Foosball Hall of Fame Classic, April 6th through the 10th. That's taking place at the Golden Nugget in Las Vegas, Nevada. Don't forget about the $10,000 Florida State Championships, April 28th through May 1st. It's taking place at the Holiday Inn St. Petersburg North, Clearwater, Florida. It's the main event for 2022. The World Cup and World Championships held in Nantes, France, coming up June 28th through July 3rd. And later this summer, the 2022 National Championships North American Cup, July 20th through the 24th at the Radisson Hotel in Aurora, Colorado. And finally, the first annual Ozark Open, Sunday, August 15th, 2588 North Gregg Street, Fayetteville, Arkansas. Each week, we do our best to give you the most up-to-date listing of foosball tournaments near you. If you have an event you would like to add to our list, send us all the details at info@foosballradio.com. Tune in every week for the FoosTalk Live Foosball Beat. FoosTalk Live is a product of InsideFoos, all rights reserved. Brought to you in part by InsideFoos.com, Protectoflex, Rodlock, 518 Prince, Foosballers the Movie, the USTSO, and Foosball Clubs USA. Tune in again next week for another episode of FoosTalk Live. In the meantime,
We'll see you foosing.